The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Another episode, a short, if you will, of the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. Jason Briney with you under the glorious lighting that makes our guests look so not pinkish here in the Fargo Dome. Jason Briney with you with Dave Mathews. That's 1T, no band. Proud resident of the state of Georgia and resident tech guy here at USA Wrestling. Dave, it's been about, what, a year and a half, 2 years now, or 2 years since you've been on staff officially at USA Wrestling? It's outside of being a wrestling coach, what is your day-to-day life like as an employee at a remote employee at USA Wrestling?
Well, a lot of times what I'm doing right now is we launched a membership system this year, which was a huge success. It allowed us to really get a better handle on our memberships as far as the purchasing process and our clubs being able to manage their own memberships and do what they need to do from that standpoint. So my day-to-day operation is really just being an app developer for USA Wrestling, doing things like the membership system. This year, everybody that registered inside of Fargo to come to Fargo did so through the membership system, through their states. So a lot of things are just getting us advanced in technology, so to speak, with USA Wrestling and trying to grow that aspect.
So, and with that also, with the membership system, you've got to work with Flow Wrestling and their software, Track Wrestling at those events for their software. How is it like? What's it like for you to try to integrate your systems from the membership system into their respective registration systems for event management?
Well, the fact of the matter of getting them exported into those has been really nice. They've already had their APIs as far as the ways that they can do those things. So from my standpoint, it was really seamless to get our stuff to go into it. They've done a real good job of working with us to make sure that we can integrate both our results pulling out so they go into your profiles on the membership system, as well as getting it where you can start doing registrations on the membership system and getting them imported into Track or Flow, whatever your event management system is going to be for your events.
One of the big topics this year has been USA Wrestling's implementation of the Safe Sport requirements, and part of that is for media. I had to go through it as a member of the media, and I'm actually a bronze level coach, so I would have had to do it anyway. But you go through the system, and when you go in, you log in, you have to create a media account, and all of these modules tie into it. So when you got to create a new system, so for media, which wasn't there before, what goes into creating something like that with something like Safe Sport?
Well, the biggest thing is that we really felt that Safe Sport was an important factor, that we needed to make sure that we have a clean field of play and that we're a safe field of play and that we are protecting our athletes. And so in doing so, it wasn't that hard of a stretch. We already had our memberships for our athletes, our coaches, our officials, and those things have been implemented since the beginning of August into the membership system. And so with that just came the advent of, hey, we really need to do Gary Abbott being a leader in that, wanted the media and so forth. So we have the vendors, we have media, we have anyone who has access to the floor and to the competition floor now has to have their Safe Sport certification as long with their background check.
As we turn things over to actual wrestling here, you've been coming into this event for years as a coach with Team Georgia. You spent time as the head women's wrestling coach at Life University. Ashley Sword, your assistant then, now as the head coach there. I had to talk, had lunch with Ashley earlier talking wrestling and Georgia wrestling, but the evolution of this event in your eyes, not just your position here, but what's it mean to you each year to come to Fargo?
Well, the biggest thing is that you get to see who the real hammers are. And so you come in here and you see those guys who you already knew were hammers, and you get to see those guys who are future hammers. So you get to see the Kyle Snyders, the Jane Cox, those guys when they were cadets, when they weren't the hammers yet that they are now. And so you get to see those guys grow through their careers and go on to the senior level athletes and winning world teams and Olympic titles. And so it's a great thing for that. And then with the women being added in years ago, and it's just going strong. Our numbers are up in every style this year. And so in doing so, you just see more and more opportunities for the women as well as the men and seeing them just grow in that senior level. So it's a great feeder program to our senior level.
Yeah, you talked about the women, the cadet girls tournament going on right now. 264 entries, that's an all-time high. Cadet freestyle on the men's side, just short of the record, which was set in 2002. Why is 2002 significant for a record?
That's a great question you have to tell me.
Federation weights. Because we went from 12 junior weights to 15. So same with the cadets. They went from, I think, 15 to 17 or 14 to 17. But when it comes to the cadet girls, there's now we've had the juniors since 2002. Now we got the cadet girls since 2011. When you were a women's college coach, how important was that to you to know that, okay, I can identify these kids earlier now?
Well, it's great. It's great to identify them early, and it's also great from a standpoint of the USA system with Terry Steiner and his coaches, to the fact that they have all those developmental camps at that schoolgirl cadet level going into the junior level. So as you start helping out, and I help out with a lot of those camps and coaching in those things, and when you see that, you get to really see these girls grow and see them become athletes and wrestlers. And so you get to see them just grow in the sport. And so as you see that, it's just that's the most important thing, is seeing these girls from the time they start and just seeing the progression every year as you can see them just getting better and better and better.
When you come to Fargo, you've been part of Team Georgia, as we said, but now you're not coaching, and you're disconnected to a point from the athletes, whereas, your buddies from Team Georgia that have been here over the year, Porter, Moisner, Cochran, the Sean Higgs, the Jeff Bedards over the years. What's it like to get to see them in this environment, even though you're not battling with them as coaches anymore?
Well, it's actually, we still hang out. We still go and talk and have food and everything else together. So, it's not that far of a stretch. We're still great friends. We still do a lot. Sean Moisner coaches my son, and my son's out here for his first ever cadet national, so he's getting to wrestle this weekend. So, it's a good thing. So I've actually stepped in that other role where I'm a father, used to be coach, that's now sitting here watching his son wrestle in a tournament that he's been to for 20 years. So it's it's a good thing. But from an aspect of our coaching staff and just watching them, it's just interesting because I can always relate to them and talk to them, and it's one of those things where we always have feedback back and forth about, hey, here's maybe what we should do, what we shouldn't do. These are the things that I see. They come and ask questions, so it's good stuff.
How many years is this for you coming here?
I think it's 18. It's either 18 or 19. I'm right there at my 20-year mark.
In a row?
Yeah, in a row.
So I got you probably. I'm at 20 this year, as everybody's already heard. I've beaten that point to a pulp already. But favorite memories that stand out for you, from whether it be a conversation at the turf or a guy coming from way down and getting a win or something like that. I think a couple I remember from Team Georgia, but what do you remember?
If you want to talk Team Georgia only would be Carson Fields winning his Greco title. One of my kids that I coached, Darriston Williams, setting all kinds of scoring records and not winning the matches.
I think he scored 82 points. I have to look this up, but it was like 80-something points, and he went 1-2.
Exactly. So, those are some of the great memories outside of Georgia. And then you got guys in Georgia also, like watching Peter Yates, who went on to Virginia Tech, become an All-American in college, watching those guys grow through the system, the Milhoffs and those guys. That's great stuff right there. Then outside of that, you got Mako driving guys off the stage, first ever guy to get a guy off stage. That was good stuff, too.
That was Cain Velasquez.
Yes. So a little bit pre-UFC there.
Yeah, and actually Akil Patterson was the Goriron winner at the same weight class that year. So I think it was Greco, wasn't it? Yeah, Mako wrestled Greco. So there's something about coming here when I remember when some teams from Georgia come out to the Clash, and it's like, it's high school season. But when it's the summertime, you got teams bonding with one another. And in a southern state that's still trying to develop its true wrestling tradition, what's it mean for Team Georgia, those kids that come out here, that put the time in? What do you see from them, and how has that evolved over the years?
Well, the number one thing for Team Georgia is to build wrestling. And so the whole point of it for Georgia is we're trying to do it from not just our elite level kids, our studs. We want those kids out. Those kids are going to come out and do it. But then we also want those guys who are going to be our future wrestlers, not only just our future elite wrestlers, but those guys who are going to have a chance by their senior year to win state, to get some recognition, to go on to college to wrestle, or even just become lifelong fans. Because that's one thing our sport needs, is lifelong fans of the sport. And trying to develop those through those guys who don't get those opportunities to leave Georgia, like the Sharps that we had back in the day down in South Georgia and things like that. Seeing those kids come out of South Georgia for the first time and go all the way across country to North Dakota and wrestle, that's good stuff. That's what we like to see.
Also, a recent addition that Emmanuel has announced that its delay, I guess, or its transitional period from the NAI to Division II is over, and now so there's officially an NCAA Division II school back in the state of Georgia. The college growth has been really good. Obviously, we lost Shorter. Understand there's some more issues at play there than just cutting a wrestling program. They've got some financial issues there, but we've seen a rise of programs in Arkansas. You've seen a new program in Alabama. You've seen new programs in Georgia. What's it? College program, for high school coaches, what's it mean every time there's a program talked about, or it's like, Life started wrestling, and it's got a unique draw to it. We've got Emmanuel starting wrestling, men's and women's wrestling. I mean, when those programs pop up, how do high school coaches react? Well,
the biggest thing is it's a great reaction for us, and I mean, the biggest thing that we want to see out of those coaches is the fact that they got to understand, hey, look at that opportunity. There's tons of opportunity out there, and now they need to start pushing those kids, because every kid that wrestles has an opportunity to go to college and wrestle. They may not have the desire, they may not have the ability, but they have the opportunity, and that's the thing that they can build on and they can start going to. So for us, adding these programs, that's just more opportunities to grow wrestling, more opportunities for our athletes. Just it's an exciting thing to see and be able to see these kids and give them that goal in life.
Dave, you're not going to be off the hook. I got to get up and go grab my almanac because it's trivia time. I forgot it over here. I'm going to walk and get my microphone hooked up. So as we walk back over, we do this. You get the book, which you can get at mattalkonline.com/Fargo Guide. That's how you can order it. I've already pulled this out with Andrew Berryessa. Now it's Dave Mathews' turn for a little Georgia trivia here. So we're going to go Georgia wrestling trivia. Let's find it. And we're going to go to Georgia, which is on, let's see. Don't look at the book. You can't look at the answers. Let's see. No Googling, Mr. Tech Guy. So Georgia, all right. Over or under 200? Over or under 200 total medals won by Team Georgia at the Cadet and Junior Nationals?
I'm going to go
just under 196. That is just under. All right, let's see. Some of these should be really easy, and some of them maybe not. First junior men's freestyle champion. Sean Haig is correct. First junior women's freestyle All-American. False. That's the first champion. First All-American was one, Krista Timms. Very early. Okay, the other two, you coached these two, so I'm not going to give you that. Most recent junior men's freestyle champion.
Most recent junior freestyle men's champion.
Chris Rodriguez, 1999. Well, that was, you just mentioned him, Carson Fields. All right. And I'll give you a softball here. Most recent cadet women's freestyle champ.
Most recent cadet women's freestyle champ?
Correct. All right. Good job, Dave Mathews. So clearing the table. Dave, thanks, man. Appreciate what you do.
Sure. Thank you.
The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is proudly outfitted by Compound Clothing. Shirts, singlets, custom gear orders, everything you need. Call up Cliff and the crew at cmpteamwear.com. First time listening? Well, you can change that by going to mattalkonline.com/get-short-time to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or listen on your favorite podcatcher at mattalkonline.com/listen.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to mattalkonline.com.